Okay, welcome back, everybody. It has been a hot minute since we've done one of these. I do apologize for that, but wanted to make sure we got one out to you here soon. And before we do really jump into all of that, I know we will have a lot going on. I want to introduce our special guest. He is the now two-time champ. I don't know if we have a nickname for him quite yet, but it is none other than Mr. Champ himself. Mr. Zachary Allen. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great, Jake. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. That was actually a pretty cool drop.
Yeah, well, I thought so too.
All right. So the question on everybody's mind, and I figure we better just address the elephant in the room now while we have it. Um, Polled the audience, asked everybody. We only got one response, but the question on everybody's mind is, what is Zachary short for?
Wow. I have no idea.
Oh, I thought it was like Zacharias. I don't know. Anyways, there was just a question on everybody's mind. So jumping on into this football thing, we are mid off season. Everybody's starting to get back into the swing of things as we look post draft, pre training camps, all that jazz. How do you think the draft went?
I think it went pretty, like according to what experts kind of thought it was gonna look like. Aside from, I think the biggest surprise came early when your Denver Broncos decided not to draft a quarterback, which I couldn't believe that. I really thought if Fields was on the board for them, they would have taken him, but they ended up taking one of my favorite players in the draft, so I don't think it was a bad move at all.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell you. I mean the rumors with Rodgers, and I know we'll jump into that here in a second. I I I don't even know. Um, but let's talk about your Seahawks for a second. How do you think they did?
Did they even participate in the draft?
I
I,
don't
I
know.
mean,
Have they
they had,
participated in one in like 10 years? I don't know what they do.
well, I mean, you can always rule them out of the first round. Um, but yeah, they had three picks. Took a short receiver with questionable hands with their first pick, which I mean every team needs, especially when you have a short receiver. I mean, Lockett's got good hands, but I don't know. I mean, I always question the Seahawks draft, and I just need to learn to not because they seem to pan out for some reason. But yeah, I think all three of their picks were just kind of head scratchers. They did get a nice tackle at the end there, but whatever.
Sure. But all right. Well, and the other thing that we do need to address is the draft predictions. You are officially the only team outside myself that ever does them. So congratulations on participating.
Huh?
However, this was the first year you did not royally crush me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we score it because you get 1 point for the team that you predict correctly in the spot and 1 point for the person that is selected. You got a total of 27 points, mostly because you were able to get, I think, the first like 8 picks off the board and random ones throughout. You were pretty spot on some of them.
Hmm.
I got very few people correctly, but I did manage to pick the teams, and so we actually both tied at 27. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, first time ever, 27 points out of a total, I believe it's 64. So not very good, but hey, I'm proud.
Yeah. Good job. I didn't even pay attention to that. Like as soon as I saw the first, I think I got the first seven correct. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, well, my night's done. So I hung it up right there.
Yeah, it was. You did well. It was up till about 8 where you started doing your crazy trades. You had Philly taking Certain, but hey,
Well, see, and even that trade, I think I was only one pick off from like where they went, and yeah,
yeah, it,
that,
yeah, you did well, but
well, thank you.
haha,
Yeah,
I tied you.
you
Um,
dick.
it's the first time it's ever happened. Most of the time, I only score like 6 points, and that's just the first 3 picks because they're so obvious.
Yeah.
This year, I just got lucky. But anyways, so now with the total of the draft, some of these picks were obviously a little crazier than others. I would go down the list, but some of these we would just get lost in the weeds. Let's just take the first 5 picks off the board. Um, which one's your favorite?
In the top five.
Yeah.
Well, it's man, that's actually it's hard to go against Jacksonville taking Trevor Lawrence.
I feel like
I
they
mean,
had to.
yeah, and well, yeah, I mean, it was a foregone conclusion. Whatever team got the first pick in the draft is going to take him. And, by all accounts, he's a generational talent and this and that, best quarterback since Andrew Luck. And, I mean, obviously remains to be seen, but
Sure.
yeah, I think it's hard to say any pick is better than that. But I mean, from a value standpoint, um, yeah, shit, that might even be the best one from a value standpoint looking at it.
Sure. Have you heard I read an article just like yesterday. It said he let the Jaguars, while the picks were coming in, they're like, "Oh, first pick is in." They're trying to call him. He let him go to voicemail like 3 times before he finally picked up.
Yeah, I saw that. And then I think some personnel from the Jags said that the league told them to take 7 minutes to make the pick or something like that. Like,
just for the
I don't know.
drama.
It must be. It has to be something with the presentation of the draft because they had, 3 months to sit on it, knowing they had the number one pick.
Sure. I mean, I am a little disappointed some of those guys didn't trade out, but I guess we should address the other elephant in the room, and that the biggest trade that should have happened on draft night was Aaron Rodgers going literally anywhere. What are your thoughts on all that jazz?
I was, well, like everybody else, I was shocked to hear it, and my first thought was this sounds like something that John Elway, well, I guess he's not in the front office anymore. It sounds like something that Denver would jump all over and try and get him.
Should have jumped all over.
And then the rumors came out that they were one of the teams, and maybe that's why they didn't take a quarterback because they were going to do a trade.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that makes the most sense because I think they're probably a quarterback away from being a contender. Like their defense is pretty good. They have weapons. They just need someone to get those weapons the ball.
Sure.
But that was my initial thought. And then the rumors came out that that's where it was kind of looking like he was going to end up, and then nothing happened. So it's like now Green Bay is kind of stuck in limbo. Like,
mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a hard time seeing Aaron Rodgers going back to them, but where is he going to go?
Well, really, he should go to Denver. I mean, outside of the fact that I would love that more than anything this season, that would be fantastic. He should go somewhere else. Obviously, I think Green Bay has kind of screwed him over a little bit over, the last 2 years, and everybody says he's a dick, whatever. Front office, they're a dick in Green Bay. Who really cares how that all fleshed out? Really, at what point though as a team do you get to draw the line? And I know even in fantasy, one of the toughest things to do is negotiate that trade where you don't think you're getting screwed, but how much do you need to sell the farm for Aaron freaking Rodgers?
I mean, I think 2 first-round picks and then maybe another higher pick, second or third, and maybe a player. I mean, the guy has the ability to take a team like Denver, who is a team who's not technically rebuilding, but they're legitimately a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl team.
Sure.
Like he could just take them to the Super Bowl, and I think a couple firsts and some higher draft capital as well.
Yeah,
that should do it.
Yeah. Well, last I heard, it was because it's now post-draft, and they obviously got their first round corner that they needed apparently this year. They were talking next year's first and second, and a 2023 first and a 2024 first, along with 2 defensive players to Green Bay. Seems a little steep for me, but
that's pretty steep. But I mean, especially you have to factor in his age. Is he even going to play for 3 more years? So would it be worth it to be without that third first round pick?
Sure. How much though is it? I mean, especially when you're looking, I don't know, look into your future, the crystal ball, is 1 or 2 years of potential greatness. I mean, just imagine the ticket sales for Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes for even 2 seasons. How much fun that would be. Sacrifice a couple first rounds. Hey, who cares about 2 years from now? You just want to get like here and now, get to the Super Bowl. Let's go. I mean, come on, it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how many times I can say that, but
yeah, Del, and I'm with you. I think, I would make that trade if you wanted to make that third first round pick, maybe like a second round pick.
Agreed. Yeah.
But I mean, 3 firsts. What the hell? The Seahawks traded 2 firsts for a safety, and granted, you could argue he's the best safety in the game, but that's 2 first-round picks. So
Yeah. No, I agree. So now let's talk some of these others, because obviously we're looking down our keeper deadline here in the next couple months, and as we get closer to the summer, I don't know. We haven't really posted anything for our league in particular with keepers, with draft, anything like that. But I know we're all starting to kind of think about that. I know Tanner isn't planning on keeping Rodgers because obviously he's got Herbert waiting in the wings, and that's probably the better call, especially since you don't know where he's going to go. How much, though, does this affect some of the other guys around him? And I think that's one of the biggest questions, especially in the draft. Some of these teams, should somebody go out and say trade for a Broncos receiver now in the hopes that Rodgers gets there, or should you trade away Adams from Green Bay just in the uncertainty of it? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the Adams owner should really consider trying to trade him now.
What would he be worth?
That's the thing. You kind of have to weigh, like, I mean, because you're not going to get one buy on anybody now. Everybody knows that there's some issues there with, is Aaron Rodgers going to be his quarterback? And if Jordan Love ends up being his quarterback, his value goes way down. But also, he's still a great receiver, and we've seen really good receivers play and put up big numbers with bad quarterbacks. DeAndre Hopkins has done it his whole career until he got Deshaun Watson and then Kyler Murray. So I think you could still ask for, I mean, it depends on what you want, obviously. Like, if you're just going to do player swaps, I don't think his value diminishes that much. I would be willing to give up a first-round pick for him. You're telling me that if Davante Adams was in the draft pool for us right now, you wouldn't take him with your first-round pick? Like, I think he's still worth a first-round pick.
Sure. Or what about, let's go on the other side of this one. How much value does Aaron Jones get in addition to where he's already at, losing the potential arm of Aaron Rodgers? Is he now top 10?
I mean, you could kind of look at it both ways. Like, is Jordan Love going to use him in the receiving game like Aaron Rodgers did? Yeah, we don't know. Like, if Rodgers isn't there, that whole team becomes a bottom feeder, in my opinion. And that's, I would say Jones might actually lose some value.
Okay.
And remember, they still have AJ Dillon, so maybe this would be the perfect opportunity to get him some experience, give him some carries, and maybe, I know they just gave Aaron Jones a new contract, but maybe start utilizing the guy they spent a second-round pick on last year and and seeing what he's got. So I don't know. I've done some mock drafts for redraft leagues and stuff, and it's like I avoid Packers players at all costs just because I don't know. But I think Davante Adams is pretty much a sure thing to get you close to the same production he's given you the last few years. But I just don't know about Aaron Jones.
Sure. All right. Now, on another kind of receiver note, I am going to throw it out there. Probably one of the best trades of this offseason was Chumbawamba trading for Calvin Ridley, especially with these Julio Jones rumors kind of circling around. What happens where does Julio have to go to make him stay fantasy relevant? Does Denver have to do some crazy play and get Aaron Rodgers and Julio Jones? Gosh, just imagine that. But, I mean, let's talk Calvin Ridley. Let's talk Atlanta.
Oh, I love Calvin Ridley this year. I think he's easily a top 5 wide receiver fantasy-wise. With Julio or without. Like, I think last year a lot of people called his breakout, and I mean, a lot of people were right. He really broke out, and I think he's probably only going up from here. As far as Julio, I mean, I have no idea. Like, I haven't heard any of the rumors. I've heard a couple things. Like, I honestly think if he went to Tennessee, that would be great. Because it'd be great for the team, mostly because there is no receiver opposite A.J. Brown right now for Tennessee.
Yeah.
And it would really take some heat off of him. And I know it's kind of an ugly fantasy option just because Tennessee likes to run the ball, but having Julio Jones and AJ Brown on the outside, will definitely open up the run game for Derrick Henry. But then when teams start focusing on Derrick Henry, you still got these monsters on the outside. So I think that would be an interesting team for him to go to.
Yeah. Actually just popped into my mind now. I'm going to have to find the name. Dang it. Who was it? Juju. Juju Smith-Schuster re-signed with the Steelers. I don't think I talked with anybody about this one yet. How much does that kill like any of the other receivers? I mean, and now we'll get to the rookies here in a second, but Juju re-signing in Pittsburgh.
You mean how much does it hurt the other Pittsburgh receivers?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he was there last year, and he really didn't do anything outside of
injured.
PPR.
Yeah, but he was injured for a lot of the season too. So most of, like, let's say Chase Claypool's biggest games are the ones where Juju wasn't around.
Yeah, and Chase Claypool's one of those guys that could catch 3 balls for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like,
sure. But are you going to get the 3 for 90 this game, or is Juju going to get his 10 receptions that he's got to have? Which reminds me, do you still have Odell Beckham?
Technically, yeah.
Are you going to keep him?
No,
probably good call.
I'll be upfront on that one. He's gone.
Yeah, he's trash. He's been trash.
He burned me. I mean, should have seen it coming, but I was a big defender of his, and to be fair, he got hurt, and he got hurt early. So
he gets hurt every year.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the trend now. So yeah, I gave him a shot.
Now I'm pretty sure he was even hurt his rookie year.
Well, yeah, he missed like the first 5 games or something like that. So
he's injury prone and a diva, and I can't believe he's still on your team.
Well, he was on my IR, so it's not like I was just
It's still your team.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I still have Will Fuller too. Like, oh wait, no, I don't. I think I did actually cut him.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, because I couldn't put him in my IR. Motherfucker got suspended.
All right. Okay. Let's actually talk now. Your top 5 fantasy. Let's just go rookie. Your top 5 fantasy rookie options, because obviously we don't know who's we're gonna cut. If Odell is in the pool, I hope somebody in front of me picks him up, because then that leaves other people. What are your top 5 rookie draft prospects now that we're post draft?
We want to go dramatic 5-1, or
I don't even know if I have 5. I know I have like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. So let's just start at number 1. Who is the best option if you had a choice right now? I don't know what she's going to do for 0 pick, but let's say you beat Haley in the 0 pick and you get to take that coveted choice. Who are you going with? Is it a rookie?
Oh, well, that well, again, we'd have to see who's available in the pool, but that's a tough one because I didn't rate these as to like my team specifically. I just went overall because I wouldn't actually take my number 1 player if I had the 0 pick. I think just overall for fantasy purposes, it's kind of obvious. Najee Harris is probably the number 1.
I think no matter what, like, okay, I'll be honest, looking at my team, I know my team, I'm going to be too heavy at running back as is, because obviously I have Zeke, I have McCaffrey, I have Jones, and no, not Jones. I'm not going to keep Jones. What am I thinking? Chubb. I meant Chubb.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
McCaffrey, Chubb, Elliott, and Gibson. I would be tempted to even at the 0 pick up Najee, just because I feel like he is that, like, the perfect situation is him in Pittsburgh.
I think my biggest fear with him is they have a trash offensive line. And I know a lot of people wanted to crap on James Conner last year, who was also hurt, but he had no room to run. I mean, I don't think he's that great of a running back, but I don't think a lot of his bad production last year was his fault. So
I don't know, because I'm going to be honest. I wonder, I mean, even back when Le'Veon was behind that offensive line, I feel like that line has been trash for years. He just does a better job at masking it. I mean, granted, in his prime, now he couldn't do crap with it. But Connor behind, I mean, for the first couple weeks, he was great, but it was just, he just doesn't have the skill that Bell ever did. Now you put somebody like Najee in there, I feel like that's the perfect, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Big Ben is going to be the biggest what if in this situation, just because he's not the spring chicken he used to be. But Najee to Pittsburgh, again, kind of pissed Juju signed there because Chase Claypool would be perfect in that tandem, but that's just personal.
Oh yeah, no, and I agree. I think that really did kind of take away from the other receivers' value. But as far as Najee, even though I'm a little worried about the offensive line play, uh, he's getting a majority of the work anyway, so it might be ugly. He might have a lot of ugly games, but if he remains healthy, and that's always the big caveat with whenever you talk about any player, he's easily going over 1,000 yards and 8-9 touchdowns maybe. But he's also a huge factor in the receiving game. So, and that's another thing that's going to keep it going, even if their offensive line just sucks, run blocking. He's a great option out of the backfield. And we saw Roethlisberger last year, his arm got weaker and weaker, and he was doing a lot of those checkdowns. And I think Najee could really benefit from that. So, as far as my team's draft strategy, though, like I'm with you. I'm pretty stacked at running back, so I might be looking somewhere else just as a luxury pick. But he's the clear-cut number one for me.
Okay. So then, is your number two who would be your luxury pick at if you got 0? I'm just trying to weed this out of you. Like, just tell us who you would pick at 0. Haley doesn't listen to these, and I know she's going to come up with some random 0 pick contest. It's like, name the most Backstreet Boys hit single. I don't know what she's going to do. I'm just saying we're probably not going to have a chance. So who would you pick at 0 pick given the option?
I really hope she goes with Backstreet Boys singles because I'd give her a run for her money. Trust me.
Yeah.
Not proud of that. I don't know why I said that with such confidence and vigor, but
my bad.
That shouldn't be something to brag about. But
if it gets you that 0 pick, I'm telling you, those random party tricks that you can just pull out of nowhere. Like speed
I'll surprise some people.
Okay, so she doesn't listen to these, but who do you think would be the ultimate 0 pick if you could?
See, again, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do because what if I actually do want one of these players and I have to wait till the 10th pick? Like, there's a chance that could still happen.
Oh, then it's not a true 0 pick. Okay, never mind then. Who's your number 2 rookie this season? We both said Najee's number 1. Who's your number 2? For fantasy.
For
fantasy.
Fantasy, right. Again, I'm going pretty chalk, and I'd have to go Ja'Marr Chase.
Really?
Wide receiver. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think just it's a long run play. I think people are going to be way too excited about him right away, and it's not going to look great for a while. But, they have everything going for him. The, chemistry with Joe Burrow, his college quarterback, and this and that. But it's a crowded receiver field for them. They got 2 other really good receivers, and that offensive line is still a little sketchy. I mean, they made some improvements, and also Burrow isn't 100% healthy yet. Sure. And they said, the doctors came out or whatever and said, oh, he's on track for week 1, but it's like, okay, so what does that mean for training camp and preseason? Like, you still got to work yourself into it. So it might look ugly at first, but I can see him having like a huge second half.
Sure. I can see that. I would actually say it's probably closer to next season that he'll actually jump, especially give him some time back with Burrow, whatever. But I do agree that that wide receiver core, again, I'm kind of pissed personally because I feel like T. Higgins should have taken a huge leap this year. But Ja'Marr Chase, I had him about 3 or 4 to be absolutely honest with you. I think, again, there's too much going on there that it'll be a couple years before he's worth anything. My number 2, I'm just thinking specifically for fantasy options, because if you're looking at, let's say, a wide receiver who might take a year or so to get into it, I'm going to take a gamble, and I'm going to say somebody like Trevor Lawrence should be the number 2 rookie off the board.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying that is because if you're looking for right now production, obviously Najee Harris is the number 1. You're going to get something out of him, period. It might not be pretty, but you're going to have that. Number 2, I can't say Ja'Marr Chase simply because I don't know. But Trevor Lawrence on the other side of that, he's going into a position where, all right, this is the future. We need to build around you. It might not be pretty week to week, but you know you're going to have something by the end of the year. Is he going to be as bad as, Cam Newton? No, absolutely not. But is he going to be Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, no, I doubt that too. But you know he's going to be there. You know he's going to have every week production unless he gets wrecked. He is there. So I feel like number 2 overall has got to be Trevor Lawrence.
I guess I'm going to be honest about this too. I didn't include any quarterbacks on my list just because quarterbacks are going to get points no matter what. So, and then you kind of get into that range where like the 11th best quarterback all the way up to like the 25th ranked quarterback.
Sure.
They're all just right there anyway.
They can be there. That's why I'm saying though, it's like Trevor Lawrence has got to be the number 2 rookie off the board just for that reason.
I like a lot of his. I think Jacksonville's weapons are really underrated too. Like the narrative kind of seems to be that he's going to this horrible franchise, which, yeah, I mean, they had the number 1 pick, so obviously they're not doing great. But you look at their offensive weapons. I mean, they got DJ Chark, who had a great year 2 years ago. They got Laviska Shenault, who showed incredible promise last year. He's versatile. He can run those jet sweeps. He's a physical guy.
Mm-hmm.
James Robinson ran for 1,400 yards or something like that last year. I don't think it was that much, but he ran for over 1,000.
Sure.
And then they took ETN. I think Trevor Lawrence is set up for some pretty decent success, but again, like quarterbacks, he would have to have an incredible year for me to keep him on my roster and then decide that I want to keep him at the end of this season based on the talent that's already established at quarterback, if that makes sense.
Sure. That makes sense. Excuse me. Again, I'm just thinking specifically points guaranteed that I'm going to get. And if he is that generational talent, like you said, if he is, I mean, as bad as Luck or as great as Peyton, hell, I'm going to take it. Like, that's a good shot if you're going to shoot anything. Shoot your shot for a 0 pick, especially if you can go 0-1 in Haley's position. I think Trevor Lawrence is a safe bet for her.
Yeah, and I've been wrong many times on rookie quarterbacks. I've always avoided them, even though I know they're good, and then they end up being incredible, like Deshaun Watson. And I remember Baker Mayfield had a great rookie year, and then his second year kind of. But yeah,
Sure.
yeah, rookie quarterbacks always scare me. If you have the luxury of having an established quarterback already, then I would just look the other way. If you can steal one of them, like at the back end of the draft, then sure. But
sure,
yeah,
sure. So you said an established quarterback. How long do we think it's going to actually be before somebody like Mac Jones actually jumps in there and takes over, or what's the other name that I'm thinking of? Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Man, that's the Mac Jones one. I think you'll see him midway through the year.
You think
at least by week 8?
Okay.
Or 9, whatever. Just because I don't know, Cam just looked so bad last year. Like, I don't know how they think they can continue to roll with him at quarterback. So, yeah, I don't see them winning a lot of games with him under center. So I think they're going to roll the dice with Mac Jones sooner rather than later.
Okay. What about Trey Lance?
That one's really tricky because you draft a guy number 3 when you have a quarterback already. Like, you run the risk, which they obviously did, of pissing off that quarterback that's already there. But Trey Lance isn't ready.
No. So I do have something to say on that, though. I feel like that's one of those, like, they had actually told Garoppolo before the draft that they was like, obviously, it's like, well, we're going quarterback, and they gave him that luxury. Garoppolo was even the first one to reach out to him and be like, hey, anything you need, let me know. I feel like that's where somebody like Aaron Rodgers is even more justified in his position because he never got that courtesy. Which actually even reminds me, did you know the quarterback that the Bucs drafted, they even called Brady before they called him and said, hey, by the way, we're picking up a quarterback. So there's a certain level. It's like, you're going to get replaced. But I mean, in Garoppolo's case, don't you feel like somebody's going to try to make it? I mean, whether it's Houston or trying to think of another team that actually needs a quarterback pretty soon. don't think he'll be there that long.
Yeah, that's the thing. But also, back to your point about notifying the veteran quarterbacks you're drafting enough. When do quarterbacks become such pussies? Like this is the NFL. Like you should always be fighting for your job. I don't care if you're Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. Like, but nobody thinks the Buccaneers picked this guy Kyle Trask to replace Tom Brady. They just know that, hey, we have a quarterback in his 40s. Like, he ain't gonna be here forever.
Sure, but isn't he? I mean, he's on for at least 2 years. It's like if you have the choice between Trask or Brady, it's like you have to put in Brady. It's like there's a certain level of name value that has to be there. But I feel like I don't know the respect on. I'd be pretty pissed if somebody was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, you come into work today, and now there's this other guy that he's just kind of there in your position. We don't know when it's going to happen, but just so you know, this guy's literally training for your job."
Yeah.
I'd
No, I
be
mean,
pretty pissed.
yeah, no, I definitely would be too, but I just think the whole and then even in Aaron Rodgers' situation, they traded up to draft Jordan Love 2 years ago. Or what, last year.
Last year, yeah.
That was such a stupid. They jumped a couple teams that obviously weren't going to draft a quarterback, so that was kind of a slap in the face. But yeah, no, I get it. I'd be pissed too. But I think from the outsider's standpoint, Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't been getting it done. And what's everybody said, since their Super Bowl, like he was the weak link. That
Sure.
defense was incredible. The offense was really good. Just Jimmy Garoppolo's kind of and he's not healthy. He's never healthy.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. All right, so we did, I believe, the first kind of top 3 rookies.
I think we only did 2, unless we're doing like a back and forth.
Back, I kind of. I mean, I kind of got. So I went Najee, Lawrence, and then I'll say Chase. I'd actually probably go someone else
Okay.
before that. But who do you have kind of next in those top rookie prospects?
Again, I feel like it's pretty standard, but Kyle Pitts.
Agreed.
I think that tight end is really intriguing. I know rookie tight ends are always overhyped and they underdeliver.
But just imagine if they trade away Julio and all you have is Calvin Ridley and Pitts right there behind him. Oh,
right. Yeah, that's kind of the thinking. And he's if you're going to take that gamble on a rookie, I mean, just look at the tight end landscape as it is. Like, it's pretty terrible. It's always terrible. Like, this is like the new gold standard. Like, hopefully this guy's going to be the saving grace for tight ends. So if you think he could be the next, Kelsey or Darren Waller or whoever else, George Kittle, like, take him. I take him early.
Better than all of them.
Yeah, I think if I had the 0 pick, I might actually just take him because of that, and I would redshirt him.
Yeah.
I would take him because, in my situation specifically, I have Darren Waller, and I think this will be his 3rd year with me.
Sure.
It's like, it'd be nice to have that backup.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm trying to remember who it was they had compared him to. I don't even remember who it was, but I feel like Pitts is the one that. I mean, again, I feel like if Haley could walk away with Trevor Lawrence and Najee Harris at 0 and 1, I don't know what Arthur is going to do or Cass. If Pitts could fall to me, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah,
he would be the one that I would hope for in that situation.
It would be fun, and it's definitely that's more of a pick for the future. I mean, you might get some immediate dividends from him, but I would just be looking at the future. If I could redshirt him like all year, that would be nice.
Yeah, just hold on.
But yeah, that's I do think, though, with all the excitement talking about rookies and stuff, we are forgetting that there's going to be some decent players available in the draft pool. So I don't know if I would take him with like my 1st round pick. I mean, obviously depending on who's on the board, but like unless I had that 0 pick, like I said a few years ago, if I had the 0 pick, I was going to take Kyler Murray with my with the pick, but I didn't get it. So
sure.
I like using that as more of a luxury pick, unless there's someone who's out there that's going to just really give you immediate dividends.
Yeah, and I think that's how most teams have kind of drafted, is just the immediate dividend. What excuse me, what's the number one running back that needs to be here right now? And I feel like this year is one of those years where it's like you could really go any direction and still be pretty set.
Right.
But all right, so let's kind of switch gears here a little bit. Some of these teams that are about to lose some of these guys, who do you think is going to be some of the most high valued drops? Not rookies, just the people. I mean, I know you have to choose between Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're keeping Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
And I tried to throw out Mixon, as a trade, and I got no bites. And it's like the thing that's kind of, thing that kind of sucks is going over all the teams' rosters. Not a lot of people surprisingly need running backs.
Yeah. I do think, who was it? Oh, crap. I just saw his name. Was it Plunger that has James Robinson?
Yeah. He does.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there are some of these teams. It's like because now that we are post draft, we're looking at some of these options, and again, I'm gonna relay it to my team just because it's easiest. I'm looking at the fact that it's like I don't know if I can logically keep somebody like Chase Claypool, knowing that they re-signed Juju, and I don't know what they're gonna do, aging Ben, all that, or on the other side of it, T Higgins, right? Now that they've drafted Chase. Is it logical to keep somebody like that? And I feel like that's kind of some of the biggest questions on some of these teams. Does masochistic monkeys, knowing where James Conner signed, do you kind of give that an option, or what are your thoughts on some of these? What about like Henry Ruggs, or I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually kind of like James Conner a little bit this year, just because I think he is going to be that clear-cut starter for Arizona. It's not he's not going to be an RB1 by any means, but I think he's actually going to provide some pretty sneaky production. But yeah, you did bring up two teams in our league that might need a running back, so I might have to throw out some trade suggestions or something. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Like, yeah, I didn't even consider the James Robinson thing with Jacksonville drafting Travis Etienne. Like, before the draft, you would just assume James Robinson. That's an instant keep.
Exactly, yeah.
So now, and then I'm looking even Plunger's second running back, or however you want to look at it, another running back that he has is Miles Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, how confident are you in Miles Sanders now? Like with Jalen Hurts under center and the season he had last year, he was a little banged up. And
what about Tanner he's got Melvin Gordon on his, and obviously again it's one of those, I know Denver drafted Williams.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think this draft is actually going to play into these keepers? Are there going to be some teams that just kind of take the gamble on these guys just because they're not paying attention? Not saying Tanner's not. I mean, because obviously he's like the only person that listens to this. But I mean, how much should the draft actually play a role in who we're picking as keepers?
I think it plays a big role because it lets you know what teams are really thinking, especially Denver. Again, they traded up high into the second round. I mean, they already had a high second round pick, but they traded up even higher to get Javonte Williams.
Sure.
So you know that they have a plan to utilize him. Maybe obviously not as a feature back, but it's going to be split carries. It might start off, 70-30 and then work its way to a 60-40, 50-50,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that really has to make you question, is it worth keeping Melvin Gordon when you have, some other guys on your team who you may have questioned, like, should I keep this guy or not? Like, that would be a good deciding factor for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know we addressed it a little bit in the last podcast, but I mean, if you're looking at keepers for this team, I know we're on Bear Down for Balls Deep right now. He'll probably change his name here like next week, but that's
He
what we're
should.
talking about. Yeah. What 6 keepers do you think he'll have? What should he do? I mean, I always look over these rosters and try to figure out what people are going to do based on obviously the draft and based on where they should go from here. But it's like looking at his team, he's got Kamara, he's got Hawkinson. Do you keep Gordon? You keep McLaurin? Do you keep Cooper? I mean, what do you do?
Well, if I'm the manager of his team, like you said, those names you just mentioned, Kamara, Hawkinson, you got Justin Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
Those are three. You got DeAndre Swift. I'm keeping him.
Really?
Although I'm not crazy about keeping two Lions, but
No.
um, McLaurin for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Do you keep Cooks or like
well, he's also got Keenan Allen. Remember, he made that trade.
he did?
You have to keep Keenan Allen, but then I think he's got so much talent there that he's going to have to let somebody go that he probably doesn't feel good about letting go. I
Sure.
think it really comes down to the receivers. He obviously traded for Keenan Allen, so he's going to keep him.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes down to, do you keep McLaurin or Amari Cooper? Or do you want to keep two Lions with Hawkinson and Swift?
Yeah,
In my opinion, Gordon should be an instant cut.
I'll agree with that.
But if you're going to cut him, you might want to keep Swift so you have that running back behind Alvin Kamara at least. So, yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
about that, especially because it's like, I mean, if you're looking at like the positional, I don't know. I've heard things about T.J. Hawkinson this year that he's going to be greatness. I mean, who knows? Because tight end is so hit or miss. But
right.
I mean, I don't know. Looking at some of these other teams, though, I mean, I just can't help but just wonder what. I mean, I don't know. Most years, I think it's pretty clear cut, but some of these, it's a shot in the dark. Shot in the dark on some of these.
Yeah, I'm excited to see who keeps who and all that, because I'm gonna have to be getting rid of a lot of, maybe not a lot, but some pretty big name players that I don't feel good about. But like, again, I have a lot of really good players on my team that I'm gonna keep. So, and I'm gonna have a
Dang,
clear weakness going into next season. So I'm gonna be looking out for specific players.
dang, I hadn't even. I had been looking at yours, but you forget. Okay, you have Joe Mixon and you have Michael Thomas. How much is that going to be a disaster field? Um, do you keep J.K. Dobbins or I mean Jonathan Taylor, obviously, but then you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at do you go with Jackson? Do you hope he falls to you? Deontay Johnson, there's two already. Dalvin Cook, you're at three. Darren Waller, J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, you're already at six, and you haven't even gotten to your bench space. Michael Thomas, T.Y. Hilton, you can obviously let go. DJ Chark, like you mentioned earlier, oof.
Yeah. Well, I already know who I'm gonna keep. I know my six keepers, but yeah, I'm not crazy about some of the people that I have to let go. Like, it
Yeah,
sucks. I'm sure I could probably get one of them back, but again, it just depends on who's available to me, because I'm at the end of each round. So
yeah, that makes sense. So now looking at these rosters and just judging based on who you think they're going to keep because of the draft, all that. Who do you think is a top team going into next season?
well, I mean, we went over Tanner's team, and last year I didn't like his roster going into the season,
Okay.
and they pulled it together. And like we just said, we went over his roster. We were kind of having a hard time figuring out who he would actually cut. I think he's got a pretty strong, uh, base of talent there, and also Clunge Plunger, who we talked about earlier. The James Robinson hit kind of sucks, but Kyler Murray, who could be the number one quarterback this year, he was great last year. Uh, Tyreek Hill, who's arguably the wide receiver one. And, we talked about Miles Sanders. He's got Cam Akers, CD Lamb, a couple second year guys. Like, it's pretty intriguing.
Okay. What about some of these other teams? How tough of a time do you think Sea Chicken Chokers is going to
Yeah, yeah, there's just nothing sexy about his team.
have?
That's the problem. Like,
I
a
mean,
few, Robert Woods, he gets it done. Russell Wilson, obviously, that's my team's
trash,
quarterback. Like,
trash.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll take that trash any day. But for fantasy purposes, so streaky, so hot and cold.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know.
DJ Moore, new quarterback. Uh, See if he can get it done with Sam Darnold. Aaron Jones.
Mm-hmm.
We just talked about him, the whole Aaron Rodgers situation. And then everything after that is a lot of what ifs and, will they put it together? Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's an instant keep, but, he kind of had an underwhelming rookie season,
Mm-hmm.
but everything's still there in place for him to be great, to be an RB1.
Yeah. I don't know, and I might be a little biased just because I've been watching her team, but I feel like Chubbawamba is going to have the strong, like, just name value, the top 6 of. I mean, again, I feel like Tanner's going to have the best positional advantage. I know you will too, based on. I mean, if you keep Lamar Jackson, I don't know if you're going to, or if you're going to try to stream somebody. Who knows at this point? Because you're going to go for that double champ, but you're not going to get it. I think her team.
Thank you for the vote of confidence there.
Well, I got to throw my jab where I can, where you're not going to have a quick comeback. So
it was well placed.
Yeah,
it was
thanks.
right there in the old testicles.
Anyway, Chubbawamba, I feel like, again, just strictly name value. You look at Bryce's team. I know he has Mahomes and Adams and Brown. I don't know that Andrews is going to do much. You have Justin Jefferson. Yeah, that's cool. Ayuk? I really don't know, but if you go down Chubbawamba, okay, Austin Eckler. I feel like you should keep Mike Davis because he's the only running back over there. Then you go down George Kittle, Saquon Barkley, Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans. That team is stacked between wide receiver and running back.
Oh yeah, she made some moves this season or this off season, and it was smart. I couldn't believe, all the teams willing to just give her all their available players, but. Either way,
is that a ref? Which one are you referencing here? Because there's only 3 of us that traded with her. I believe it was Sean, Tanner, and me. So
right, all of you.
Oh yeah. Well,
after she got Saquon, it's like, okay, that's enough. That should have been enough right there. But
I had to. In my defense, I'm just going to throw it out there. Mid-season, I did do like a placeholder. Like, okay, here you can hold my first round. I have to get rid of Saquon. I'm gonna want that first round back, kind of with the the Le'Veon Bell gamble. So that was a given. But as soon as she managed to pull, she had told me, like, I was sitting next to her when she got Calvin Ridley, and I was like, holy crap, are you kidding me?
Yeah. No, I know your situation. I know you had to get rid of him. But I'm just, obviously joking. Like that, those teams needed to get rid of those players as well, and she just happened to be the beneficiary of them, and she made some great moves. So yeah, between Saquon, Calvin, and Mike Evans, there's obviously 3 keepers. Eckler 4, and then Kittle 5, yeah. And then I agree. I put Mike Davis kind of in that same tier with James Conner, except I put him a little bit above him, above Conner.
Yeah.
Because he's the only running back in Atlanta. Again, he's probably not going to have crazy production, but I couldn't name another running back on their roster. They didn't draft one. They still haven't signed one. They let Todd Gurley go, obviously.
Yeah.
So, her team is looking great.
No, and especially I'm going to go back to that TJ Hawkinson. I know you have Darren Waller, but once you have those few positional, like, skill players that you have, I mean, outside of, let's say, Kelsey, Andrews, Kittle, I feel like once you go beyond that point, anything else you have in there is just cake. The quarterback, you can just sub in anybody at any point. And if you have the depth like she does with running back, with wide receiver, you're pretty well stacked.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I was just going to say, quarterbacks are easy. Quarterbacks, you're going to get points from them no matter what. I mean, there's also that tier of, your Patrick Mahomes and, I guess Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to throw in Kyler Murray and Dak Prescott because of their rushing ability too, and Dak Prescott being on pace for like 9,000 yards last year before he got hurt, like
he was vulturing Elliott. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, vulturing Elliott left and right, just getting those 1-yard touchdowns. Yeah. Haley has built her team kind of the way that I like to do it. Just get those receivers and running backs, and she has the benefit of having George Kittle at tight end too. So now just one good quarterback, and her team is like completely set.
Yeah. Outside of injury, her team is stacked. Now let's a team nobody ever likes to talk about. Let's go ahead and go on down to the masochistic monkeys. I know I'm bad mouthing a little bit, but we have kind of brought up his team just kind of with some of these other players. I know Joe Burrow was his red shirt from this last season, but he does have Dak Prescott coming off IR. Do you keep Kirk Cousins? Obviously, you keep Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Derrick Henry. I feel like if he can get if he can get out from behind himself, he could have a hell of a team posting keepers. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I never like looking at masochistic monkeys roster at the end of the season. It's kind of like you see these names like, oh, Stephon Diggs, great, Derrick Henry, awesome. And then after that, it's kind of like, maybe this guy, Adam Thielen, sure, he's all right. And then it just falls off a cliff quickly. Like, I honestly don't see 6 people on his roster worth keeping unless he wants to keep 3 quarterbacks.
I could maybe argue for 2 quarterbacks, but I'm thinking, okay, Diggs, Thielen, Henry, Connor, Ruggs, I imagine is going to have, I don't know. That's also rooting for the trash team of the league. But and then I think his biggest question is literally the quarterback. Do you keep Burrow and hope that he's healthy? Do you keep Prescott and hope that he's healthy? Or do you go with the Kirk Cousins, who you could probably even redraft? Because nobody's going to touch that.
Oh, I would keep Dak Prescott 100%.
Yeah.
He's the only guy that I feel confident in.
Agreed. Unless Eli is listening to this one, in which case I say, Eli, totally keep Kirk Cousins. He's so good. But yeah, no, Dak Prescott is definitely the one.
Well, that's the thing. Kirk Cousins, he puts up decent fantasy points. Like he does get it done. He's steady. He'll probably never be QB1 on the week.
He's the Romo. He's currently Romo. That was always it's always been my favorite, is to try to get that quarterback that's not like the best, but if you can get him late enough in the draft, it's pretty perfect. So Kirk Cousins is one of those guys. Ryan Tannehill is another one.
I was just gonna say Brian Tannehill on his roster. Like, it's the same exact thing. Nobody ever wants him, but he gets it done.
Yeah. How did we let him end the year with 4 quarterbacks on his roster, and we're just now talking about it?
Well, 2 of them were on IR.
I don't care. How does he have 4 quarterbacks?
Well, maybe he was playing a great game of keep away, because if I have all the quarterbacks, none of you motherfuckers can get them. So
yeah, it's true, but I don't know. On a different note, we should probably look to go on to other topics. We've kind of delved into a lot of these teams pretty well, and always appreciate your input on them. Sure. Let's talk the upcoming fantasy season, though. Now the NFL is extending the season by a week, and we do need to have an official vote on how we want to have our playoffs go. I know the suggestion that you had made prior to our recording here was just simply change it from a 14-15-16 playoff to a 15-16-17 playoff, because there are 18, and unfortunately the way the bye weeks fall, there is a week 14 bye week for a couple teams. But I mean, 15, 16, 17, like you said earlier, makes the most sense. Unless you have, another idea that you've come up with since.
No, I think that works out perfectly. It'll literally just be like any other year. Week 18 would be the previous week 17, so there would be games in the NFL, but it wouldn't matter for the fantasy championship.
Sure.
So yeah, just have your fantasy championship in the penultimate week of the NFL's regular season.
Agreed. Now, without getting too far off topic here, how many players do you think we're going to actually lose to injury because there's the extra week?
Man, that's kind of the big risk with adding another game. And of course, the players are very vocal about the league being all rah safety, player safety, but now we're going to make you play another game. So I know there's kind of a bone of contention with that, but
sure.
Yeah, I can honestly see teams being cautious about it and maybe not playing maybe like certain running backs as much. Sure. I think the running back position might suffer a little bit fantasy wise.
The beginning or the end of this season, do you think? Obviously, if they're the teams that are making kind of that last minute push, they're going to be kind of putting pedal to the metal. But even let's say Patrick Mahomes, he's going to clinch a playoff spot by week, 10 or 12 or whatever it is that they're going to do. Their bye week is 12. How much is he going to play between weeks 12 and 18?
Well, I mean, it's a good question. It depends on, I think teams will be more willing to, especially like starting quarterbacks,
Sure.
if they're winning games and they're winning by 2-3 touchdowns, and it's, you might lose a quarter of production. You might just see starting quarterbacks sitting out the fourth quarter. I don't know.
Sure.
I think too, though, let's not get carried away. It is only one more game, so maybe this is much ado about nothing. But I could see there being sort of a more caution with how much players. I think running backs you're going to see, especially in the beginning of the season. I think they're going to get off to a slower start because you're going to see a lot more tandem backfields.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think teams will be way more willing to rest their starters at the end of games.
Yeah. All right. Well, and then otherwise for our actual league, I know we do need to set a draft day. I know we do need to set keeper deadline, that sort of thing. The other thing that we do need to talk about, especially since this last season, we had people who were virtual, and I don't know how this next year is going to be. I know we'll probably talk about IR limitations just because COVID is hopefully going to be a thing of the past. I don't know how this next year is going to be, but obviously the 10 IR spots, a little excessive, but we wanted to make sure we had a season. This next season, though, with zero pick especially, I am going to make the motion to allow, if possible, non-in-person participants, if there is a way for them to participate, them to be able to do that. Now with the technologies like Zoom, you do have to be within frame or whatever it is to verify, no just writing down the names of a team and then shouting, oh yeah, he totally got it. 100% legit. No, none of that. We're actually going to have it to where you can participate because we want to make sure everybody can be included in all of it. And again, logistics still in the works, but that's just something that we want to start thinking about. And if anybody has suggestions or thoughts, definitely send them my way as we look to prepare for our annual draft.
Okay. So. Yeah, that sounds good. I think, the IR thing for sure, though, that should be changed. I think we did the right thing just by allowing ourselves. We didn't know what COVID was going to do. And obviously it turned out it really wasn't that taxing on for fantasy.
I'd say yes, except for the fact that I was in first place until Cam Newton got COVID. And I'm not saying that Tom Brady did it literally just to tank my fantasy team. I'm just saying that I was in first place at one point. So thank you, Tom Brady, and thank you, COVID. But
well, yeah, I mean, Cam was definitely going to carry you to the championship. So that's kind of a bummer. I feel real bad for you on that one.
Yeah, well, since he was the only healthy one on my team, then COVID anyways, okay. Okay. There is a new segment in my favorite part of the show.
Oh shit!
You ready?
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
All right, we need your hot take. What is your hottest take going into this next season? Lay it on me.
Oh, wow. Coming out hot. This is real time, folks. He didn't give me any
zero preparation, so you got to go. We're on a time crunch here.
Ooh, okay. Hot take. AJ Brown is going to be the overall wide receiver number 1.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how hot that is, but I think he's going to be the overall.
You said earlier they I mean, what if they get Julio? I don't know.
I think that could help him as well, because then he's going to get doubled a lot.
Okay.
If Julio goes there, that could take away some of that double coverage as well. So I think no matter what, AJ Brown, wide receiver 1 overall.
All right. Well, I like it. What can I say? It's for a spur of the moment hot take out of nowhere. Definitely probably one of the better ones we could have gotten. Any last thoughts, final words as we do look to kind of wrap this cluster up a little bit?
No, other than, Joe Mixon's still available, people. So if you guys want to throw me an offer, I'd hate to give him away for free because you know what that means. He's going to go to one of those top 3 teams, most likely.
Yeah, right.
Well, why would I? Well, hey, maybe he'll fall back to me at 10, then I'll gladly scoop him back up.
You can absolutely do that. Because I know I'm not going to draft him again. I don't know that any of maybe Arthur. I don't know what that guy's going to do. Who knows? But
okay, well, you heard it here first, folks. Jake doesn't want him, so
everybody else jump in on that action.
Yeah, yeah, this is a real hard sell right here. Like, come on, it's clearly a hot commodity.
All right, sir. Again, guys, Joe Mixon is available, but for the rest of you who want to get somebody good, hold on for the draft. Dates are coming. Zach, thanks so much, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, buddy.
Next time.